Hi, and welcome to Matt Holman Talks Mental Health, the podcast where I have the opportunity to sit down and chat to amazing humans about their journeys and stories around mental health and all topics of well-being. For this episode, I'm so happy to introduce Sally Sidani-Wilkinson to the conversation. Welcome, Sally.
Hi there, Matt. Thank you.
Oh, it's lovely to have you. As always, just a very brief introduction from me as to how we got to record this episode, and then Sally, I'll get you to do a proper introduction to yourself, tell people all about you and what you're doing. So Sally and I, we met through social media, through LinkedIn, and actually we were connected through one of my colleagues, actually, Mandy. So it's always nice to have introductions, and then we connected through LinkedIn. We started chatting and decided it was a great idea to sit down and talk about an incredibly important topic of menopause. I gave a little bit away there. But Sally's an expert in this area, in this field, and it's fascinating to hear some of her thoughts as well on this topic. So, Sally, I've probably told everybody a little bit about what you do, but you do the proper introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Sally Sidani-Wilkinson, and my business is Rebalance by Sally, and I help women improve menopause symptoms through nutrition and lifestyle. So I'm a health coach, certified health coach from the CNM, College of Naturopathic Medicine, and I've been doing this for over 2 years now.
Brilliant. Okay. And the 2 years, no doubt, will extend into many, many more years and success for you. So, as always, I ask a question. I'll get you to tell us a story. Just tell us a bit about a story of your journey, really, around mental health, nutrition, of menopause, and all those things that you cover now. I just want to know more about you, really. So, tell us a story. Tell us all about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So my menopause journey started in my early 40s, actually. So I was working in the corporate world. I was leading a team in European marketing, and I started to struggle with lots of health concerns. I had gut health problems, skin problems. My eczema came back, which I hadn't had since I was a child. Wasn't sleeping properly. A whole host of different symptoms. And I kept getting medical advice on, one thing and then the other thing. It's like, so some people call it the whack-a-mole. You just get one symptom sorted and another one comes up. And I really was concerned. So I'm like, what is going on with my body? And at the time, there really wasn't a lot of information about menopause. So I hadn't even heard of the word perimenopause, never mind menopause. So I was like, what's going on with my health? And it was only because of, fantastic ambassadors for menopause, people like Davina McCall and Meg Matthews and Mariella Fostrop, all these fantastic ambassadors for menopause, finally talking in the public domain about what perimenopause and menopause is, that I started to join the dots. I'm like, hang on a minute, I think these symptoms might be perimenopause. So I had to do a lot of research myself into how I'm going to resolve my symptoms. There was starting to become a bit of information about HRT, but I wanted to sort of explore other sort of natural approaches. And I had to do a lot of that myself. I then found a health coach and nutritionist who helped me to understand more about how you can resolve symptoms through a natural approach. And the great news was I managed to eliminate all of my symptoms through nutrition and lifestyle. And that's really what inspired me. I thought, why don't more people know about this? Why aren't these options given to more people? And so I completely changed career. So during lockdown, I retrained to become a health coach. And then I went on to do my qualification to become a menopause wellbeing practitioner. And that's why I do it. I'm so passionate about sharing my journey, sharing my learnings of how to resolve symptoms through this natural approach, through nutrition, through lifestyle factors, so that I can help other people. You're the same, Matt. It's like, through your own experience, you just want to be able to help more people. And that's why we're both here today, really, is discussing that, so we can raise awareness of different options. Because every person is unique. Every woman's experience of menopause is unique. We all go through menopause at a different age, a different severity of symptoms, different symptoms. So that sort of personalized approach, I feel very passionately about. Of it's my body, my choice, and everybody has that choice to make in terms of how they manage their symptoms.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it's definitely an area that's, awareness is growing, and you're absolutely right. The thing about perimenopause, menopause, these topics have only really started to show themselves in the last few years, and through some of those amazing individuals and personalities that you mentioned as well, raising the awareness levels to a whole nother level, right? It's really fascinating. So take us back a little bit if you can. So pre sort of perimenopause, if that is such a thing. I guess it is, isn't it, before it happens. How was life feeling at that point, and then when did you feel the changes starting to show them, or what was going on? Can you describe that a little bit more for us?
Yeah, I can't pinpoint exactly when it was, but it's sort of late 30s, early 40s, definitely in that period. So I was in, a very high pressure job, a very stressful job, traveling around the world for my job. I had, a fantastic opportunity. I loved that career, but it was starting to take its toll on my health. And I wasn't really sure whether it was this sort of stressful, fast-paced lifestyle was causing my symptoms, or whether it was what I was eating was causing the symptoms, or whether it was something else. And so it wasn't, until quite far into that journey that I realized actually it is perimenopause. And it's all sort of interlinked, isn't it, really? Because I think, stress is a major factor in either triggering menopause symptoms or exacerbating menopause symptoms. So I don't think that was helping the situation as well as, going to different time zones. And, because I was traveling a lot as well, I wasn't eating a very nutritious diet. I was, grabbing a bar of chocolate and a can of Diet Coke here and there. It's that sort of lifestyle, which, in hindsight, I realized that wasn't helping the symptoms either. So it was through all that learning and step by step, as I was becoming a health coach, I sort of step by step realized the impact of certain foods on my body. And even outside of menopause, the impact of processed foods, the impact of stress on the body. And as a health coach, I'll explain a little bit about what a health coach is actually, because
Yeah.
it's a fairly new profession that a lot of people probably won't have heard that terminology. So a health coach basically is evidence-based approach to holistically looking at improving symptoms
Yeah.
or health improvement. Because, we say holistic, and I think a lot of people sometimes think, oh, it's a bit woo-woo.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but when I say holistic, I mean whole body,
Mm.
because all the systems of the body, they're interconnected. So, your mind, your mindset, your relationships, your finances, your nutrition, your movement and exercise, the amount of physical activity you're getting, it's all interconnected. So, we can talk about a number of, different symptoms and diseases, but specifically for menopause, each one of those has a contributing factor to your menopause symptoms, either triggering them or exacerbating them, making them worse. So as a health coach, that's why I look holistically at each of those different factors. And as I say, it's a very personalized approach. So I look at the individual in terms of how are their stress levels, how's their nutrition, how's their movement and exercise, are they active, or do they have a sedentary lifestyle? And all of those things contribute to the menopause experience. It's not just one thing, and
Yeah.
it's not something you can fix with a band-aid. It's very much looking at improving the overall health of a person. And it's not just for menopause as well. The things that we put in place to improve the menopause symptoms have an impact on long-term health as well. We all want to live a long, healthy life, but we can only do that if we put those building blocks in place in our 30s, 40s, 50s. As we get older, we need to make sure we have got the right nutrition and movement and exercise, stress management techniques in place.
I just find it really fascinating what you're sharing and the thinking around the holistic approach to things, which I think is something that people, you're absolutely right, is that like, ooh, people are a little bit uncertain as to what holistic really evolves towards, which is it is the whole person, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's alternatives as well. And some people say, well, medicine, and you spoke about HRT earlier, and some people they need that and it works for them. And it's very similar in the mental health space. We talk about antidepressants or antipsychotic medication, and people get really quite worried or scared about the thought of it, but sometimes people need those and they help them, and it's a balancing of everything together. I was looking at this thing behind you, the pop-up behind you, and as you're talking, I'm just feeling the word balance constantly, and it's that, but everyone's unique and different, right? So in some circumstances then, so you obviously work with people around this balancing, how do we find that balance? Some people, I guess, are already quite well balanced even as they're coming into the menopause. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I think it's really important that people do understand that. If you do get your nutrition and lifestyle right in your 20s, 30s, then actually you can prevent symptoms, or you'll have less severe symptoms when
Yeah.
you do into your 40s and 50s. So I
Mm.
think, it is really important to get these things right early. And, as you say, that balance, that life balance is really important. But do you know what? I do get clients who come to me and they say, "Look, I'm eating healthily, I'm exercising, but I'm still getting symptoms. I don't know why this is." And it's because that, again, it's because we need to look at all factors. It might be because they've got a stressful job, or they're juggling
Yeah.
childcare and elderly parents, or all financial factors, all these different factors. The stress could be, even if you're eating healthily, stress could be triggering your symptoms. Or it might be actually that you're in a very quite a toxic environment in terms of the amount of chemicals we've got in our lives. Because that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is that our liver is trying to process our hormones. And if our liver is bombarded by all these different chemicals, whether it's from air pollution, whether it's from toxins in our homes, from things we put on our skin or our shampoos, there are these toxic chemicals in everyday products that we use that are bombarding our bodies and our liver on a daily basis. And that in itself can cause us to trigger and exacerbate our menopause symptoms. So it's a whole number of different factors. And that's why I think it's so important that we do look holistically at that. And I think, it's really important everyone understands all the different options available to them, because I don't think it's one thing in isolation. I think for people who are on HRT, it's not an HRT or the other things. Actually, all of these things complement each other. So if you're on HRT, then you still need to be looking at your nutrition. You still need to be making sure that you're managing stress, or you might want to try some other therapies such as acupuncture, CBT, hypnotherapy. So it's really understanding everything available. And what's right for you. Some people choose not to take HRT. Some people, for medical reasons, can't take HRT. So it's good for people to understand that there are other alternatives as well.
Yeah, if I'm thinking back to younger me, and my mum went on to HRT very young. She had a hysterectomy at 29 and ended up going on to HRT, that was the only thing I knew. That was the only thing I knew. So I wouldn't have known anything about any alternatives, or not that, I was a child, I was younger, but that was all I had ever heard. So in my head, I'm thinking when I grow up, that's what it's like and that's how it works. And
Yeah,
it's a great, well, I find it fascinating, the awareness that you can raise through just talking to those sort of conversations around, what's your lifestyle like? How much stress do you have in there? Because what you shared at the beginning, which was really interesting, and I understand that because I lived in that world as well, of traveling frequently and the unhealthy options. Although I wasn't on the Diet Coke, I'd probably go for a full fat Coke, unfortunately, because it was like I needed the sugar or something. It was
yeah,
always re-energizing through artificial substance, so which is
yeah,
dangerous, right? And I had very unhealthy diets, and I just didn't really take care of myself. I consumed too much of the bad stuff. But in the moment, it's the thing you do, right? So lots of people out there will go, yeah, but that's just the way my life rolls at the moment. And it's hard, isn't it? I guess there's a moment in time, and maybe that's where this is coming to, where we suddenly take notice of the importance of looking after ourselves.
yeah. And I think, that's why, there's a lot of people now talking about preventative health. And I'm very passionate about that as well, in terms of, don't leave it until you've got a disease to suddenly, change your lifestyle and change your nutrition. It's like just step by step, start to introduce things throughout your life so that you can prevent disease in later life. As well. And, again, it's about balance, isn't it? I'm not the complete fun police of never have a bar of chocolate, never have a piece of cake. Life's for living as well. I always try to use the 80-20 rule. So
Yeah.
80% of the time, make sure you're filling your plate with loads of veggies and high in protein and your fiber and really lovely, delicious, nutritious meals. And then 20% of the time, have those treats, have the ice cream at the beach and have that piece of cake at the birthday party. And, as I say, life is for living, but make sure you are getting that balance of having both, and just load up your plate with veggies as much as you can, and you'll be in good stead.
Well, sometimes, but that can be a difficult one to change for some people, though, right? If that hasn't been the norm, if you haven't had that approach to it previously, and and it's hard, isn't it? I can only look at it from through my perspective, but I know how challenging I find things like that to do, but with the understanding of the benefits, and that's the
Yeah.
that's the most important part, isn't it?
And It is absolutely, but also like take it step by step. You know, it's not it's this these things won't happen overnight. And I've absolutely been on this journey as well in terms of, you know, step by step changing certain things in my diet and lifestyle. And just start small, you know, whatever that might be. If it's, you know, getting back into exercise, do a 10-minute walk in your lunch break, or, you know, you're not going to suddenly start running marathons. Start small and gradually build up. Or if it's nutrition, what about in the afternoons, instead of having that chocolate bar, have, you know, some nuts, a handful of nuts or something. It's step by step, finding those little things and creating those healthy habits step by step and gradually building it up. And then it's more sustainable. You know, if you suddenly, it's all these crash diets, you know, the cabbage soup diet that you started on a Monday and you've forgotten about by the Wednesday, you know, that's just not sustainable. But if you think of it in terms of, I'm just adding into my diet, I'm not depriving myself, I'm just adding good stuff into my diet, it's a much more sustainable way of looking at things, and you will, you know, you can carry on that for life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally 100% agree with that. So I'm going to go back to symptoms and the sort of the changes that transpired after you changed some of the things that you were doing, because I find that fascinating, you know. So there's obviously a lot of symptoms when menopause starts to show itself, or perimenopause starts to show itself. So can you just describe a little bit about your symptoms, how you sort of recognized there were some things changing?
Yeah, so there's actually over 40 different symptoms of perimenopause and menopause. So, you know, it's quite extensive. And as I say, you know, everyone has a different experience. So some people might have no symptoms, 25% of the population won't have symptoms, but 75% will have symptoms. 25% of that will have severe and debilitating symptoms. So everyone has different severity, and some people might have two or three, some people have over 30 different symptoms. And they do change over time as well. You know, they change in severity, they might change in nature, they might completely change. You get rid of one symptom and you might have another symptom. So as I say, it's very important to have that personalized approach, because every person is different. To give you, give you an example, some of the physical symptoms might be things like joint aches and pains, muscle aches and pains, hair falling out, dry hair, dry eyes. Some of the more emotive and psychological symptoms are things like anxiety, brain fog, depression, mood swings, irritability. So, you know, so it's a combination of physical and emotional symptoms, which are all due to the decline of our sex hormones. So the estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. That's what brings about these different symptoms.
Yeah.
I'll give you a case study. It might be helpful for
Yeah.
the listeners to sort of to understand, you know, what somebody might be going through. So I'll give you a live example of a client who I had earlier this year, who had really debilitating symptoms. Because that is, you know, more of an extreme case. So she came to me. She'd been to one of my workplace workshops, and she'd heard my lunch and learn, raising awareness of what menopause is. And then she came to me as a health coaching client because she wanted help to resolve her symptoms. She was she'd had lack of energy. I mean, she was so exhausted every single day. She had like energy slumps in the afternoons. She had lack of energy. She wasn't sleeping through the night. So she was waking up tired even in the morning. She wasn't refreshed when she was waking up in the morning. She had anxiety to the point where she didn't even want to go into work. Then when she did get into work, she was having relationship problems with her manager. She was having conflicts with her team. She was really irritable. She was finding that she was withdrawing. So she was naturally quite a gregarious person and used to be involved with a lot of team activities. But she found herself withdrawing from those team activities and becoming quite isolated. And she was aware of this, and she was trying to do something about it, but she didn't know what to do. She had physical symptoms like joint aches and pains, to the point where she couldn't even walk her dog. She loved her little dog, and she couldn't even walk the dog. She was in so much pain. So she kept saying, well, I can't exercise because I'm in so much pain. But actually it's counterintuitive. Actually doing the exercise gets you moving and gets you more mobile. So I worked with her on those symptoms, and we looked holistically at her body. We started step by step to change her nutrition. We gradually got her back into exercise, and through, you know, step by step, we got there. And after just 12 weeks, her symptoms were not eliminated, but definitely considerably improved. So she was walking her dog again. She was going for really long walks with her dog and her kids. She was playing with her kids again. She was using the bike, the exercise bike in her front room because she was now much more mobile. And we'd given her omega-3s to help with the joint aches and pains. We'd given her magnesium, rich foods in her diet to help again with that, and with help with her mental clarity as well. The omega-3s and magnesium are great for any of those sort of emotional symptoms, anxiety, etc. as well. And step by step, she started to get her confidence back. And by the end of it, after sort of 16 weeks, she was saying, I just feel like myself again. And to the point where she actually applied for a promotion at work. She'd got back her confidence. She felt like herself again. She'd re-energized, got her energy back, sleeping through the night. And it was fantastic when she called me up and she said, I've applied for a promotion. And I was like, amazing. It's incredible what these, creating these healthy habits, the impact it can have on somebody's life.
Well, that's incredible. I love that story, and it's fascinating, isn't it? And you're right, and it's hard at the time because you're thinking, how long is this going to take, and what's going to happen, and will it ever change? And when you're right in amongst it, and the things aren't feeling great, it can be really difficult. But that's a great case study, isn't it? Of
Yeah.
or you can get back on track. So I think from the work that we do in the menopause world, through Simpler and through my colleague Kerry, who's been amazing in bringing that to life. It's fascinating to understand the challenge of the workplace when it comes to the menopause. And what are your thoughts around that? So let's throw that in there as well as a question for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's whatever the situation, it's like don't suffer in silence. I think that's the key thing, which, your team and myself, and there's a lot of ambassadors now in the menopause space, all championing, do not suffer in silence. Do get help, the help you deserve, do get support. There are people that can help you. So first of all, it's, just communicating, whether that's with your work colleagues, whether that's with your partner, that's with your kids, mother, whatever it might be. It's like, make sure you are communicating, explain to people what you're going through, how it's impacting you. So yeah, in the workplace, explain to your manager, explain to HR what you're going through and how it's impacting your work, because you are entitled to have support. If it's affecting your health and safety in the workplace, you're entitled to get that support. So it's important that we do voice those things. And I think there's still a little bit, unfortunately, there's still a little bit of stigma in the workplace in terms of, a shyness of, am I going to be judged for my age if I, say I'm menopausal? But we shouldn't feel like that. It's a natural phase of life. It can happen at any age. There are women in their 20s and 30s going through perimenopause. So it can happen at any age, any time of life, and it is a natural phase of life. And if businesses want to retain that valuable, experienced, knowledgeable workforce, then they need to put that menopause support in place. And by doing things like supporting them with your education and awareness sessions, everybody, all managers, everybody understands what the menopause is, what people are going through, how they can support each other through it. And then through my health coaching, we can actually help to improve symptoms. So, people don't have to struggle through the day. If you haven't had a good night's sleep, it's going to be very hard to concentrate at work or focus at work and do challenging work if you haven't had proper rest. Or, if you're sat at work and with joint aches and pains or muscle aches and pains, again, that discomfort is going to distract you and you're not going to be able to do a good day's work. Or if you've got anxiety and depression, again, you're not going to be able to perform to the best of your abilities unless you're getting the support that you need. So, don't be afraid to vocalize that. And to any employers who are listening, make sure that you're putting those menopause support programs in place, because it's in everybody's best interest. If we can support the individuals as they go through this phase of life, you're going to retain that experienced talent. You're going to reduce absenteeism. You're going to have the team who are, they're working to their full potential. They're not going to be taking sick leave because they can perform to the best of their abilities and they're not feeling tired in the workplace. So it is really important that everybody has that good understanding and gets the support that they need.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it just all spins around this thought of, everybody should be able to be open and talk about these things. I've got a sign behind me that says we need to talk about mental health, we need to talk about menopause, we need to talk about neurodiversity, we need to talk about all these topics, and actually
Yeah.
put no shame on people for going through these. Half of the population will go through or will likely go through menopause at some point in their lives. And it's
Mm.
interesting, you've got a banner. I've already mentioned it previously, and for anybody that's listening, you won't see it, but the banner says menopause affects everyone. And I believe everyone includes men, women, and everybody in between, right? So, and all
Yeah.
the things. So it really is important that we all talk about these topics. Absolutely. So in terms of your coaching, so who are you working with at the moment in terms of, is it groups, is it companies, is it individuals? How does your business work with people that want to talk about these topics?
Yeah, so both. I do one-on-one health coaching. So for any individual who's going through the menopause, I work on an 8, 12, or 16 week basis to help them to improve their symptoms. So again, we look at a personalized approach and I help them to put together a health improvement program to help them to, whether it's sleeping through the night, whether it's regaining their energy, whether it's anxiety or mood swings, whatever their symptoms are, we work specifically on that with a personalized approach. So sometimes it's individuals. And I also work with corporates as well and schools. It can be any workplace, really. I work with schools, universities, corporate landscape, helping them to put the right menopause support in place for their employees, really, so they don't have to leave the jobs that they love, lose their financial security. They can continue to perform at their best if they're getting the right support. So in the workplace, I do group health coaching. They can either do individual one-on-one health coaching or groups of 10. And again, we work through a program and I help them. It's really sort of taking control of their own health. So I give them the guidance, I give them the motivation, I give them the tools to take control of their own health so that they can improve their menopause symptoms, but also to support a long, healthy life as well.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, we'll pop the links to your business and you into the notes of these episodes or this episode. We are coming towards the end, so I always like to sort of invite guests to say their final thoughts, any motivational thoughts or inspirational things that you want to share with people. So yeah, just throw that back to you, just to say, Sally, anything you want to share as a final thought here?
Yeah, just if you are going through menopause yourself, it's like, please don't suffer in silence. There is support available. Do reach out, do speak to your friends, family, work colleagues, managers. Do not suffer in silence. Gone are the days of stigma and taboos. Please do, get the support that you need. And if you're an employer, then again, please do put some menopause support in for your employees, because they shouldn't have to suffer in silence. We don't want people to be struggling with health concerns and have to leave jobs that they want. So support is available. So do reach out to the relevant people.
Amazing. So Rebalance by Sally is going to help you if you need some extra support around how to implement some ideas that will help people holistically to support themselves. Amazing stuff, Sally. Thank you. A really insightful, really interesting topic as well. I've really enjoyed listening to your perspective, to everything you're doing, and just want to say a huge thank you for joining me on this episode. This is going to be out there as well during Menopause Awareness Week, so we'll be bringing more content, and there'll be more discussions. And I look forward to working together on some projects, hopefully into the future as well,
Yeah.
because an area that you've opened my eyes to now, and I think definitely has got some great opportunities to help and support more people, which obviously it is from the case study that you shared. So thank you for everything and for what you do and the support that you give to others. I really appreciate it. We are at the end of the podcast. It's been lovely. So again, just want to say huge thanks for joining me, and take care of yourself and look after you. And I look forward to catching up with you at some point soon.